Good morning.
Good morning, Facebook friends. Holly and Deanna, 5 a.m. Good morning, good morning. We are coming to you today with the Business Journal and a couple of articles in here that we felt like were things that you might be interested in. And hey, good morning, Carol. This morning we've got the Business Journal. Count the ways. This was interesting. How to pay for the $2 billion Panthers Stadium. Basically, should they build another stadium with a retractable roof? Retractable roof. Hey. Yes, let me tell you, last Sunday when we were there, oh God, it was so hot. There were multiple times where I was sitting, thinking,
baking in the sun.
Yeah, like I'm going to pass out from the heat. And I've gone to Panthers games in the winter where it was so cold and you're like, shit, I'm not going to make it. It's too cold. Obviously you're just susceptible to whatever the weather is. I'm sure there's games where people have gone and it's been pouring rain. If you're spending that kind of money, you have to be ready for whatever Mother Nature brings. So, expand.
So the Business Journal is really just Holly wants it so she's not hot or cold. I think it's a great thing for the city. Now, I used to work in pro sports, and I worked for women's professional soccer where there was no roof, and weather absolutely affected attendance, which affected revenues. And then for the NBA and the WNBA, which did have a roof. And we are one of the oldest, actually next year will be considered the second oldest NFL stadium in the league. Now there are older ones, but they've undergone like $500 million renovations. So they're kind of have a new age on them.
So it's time.
So yeah, we're kind of hitting that. We have an owner now that is extremely invested. Extremely meaning he paid $2.25 billion for the team. Yeah. And so a new stadium costing $2 billion, with a retractable roof.
Money.
It is, but they're also looking, of course, to the city to help subsidize that. And that's gonna, they're even with the basketball arena, there was a lot of pushback, and I think the city just did it anyways. With football, there has been, I think, at least $75 million that has come from the city for renovations. That'll get paid back. So there's the discussion of where does the money come from. I do feel that the city should be invested in it, just as the owners invested in our city. And we would like to keep the team here because it does bring in a lot of revenue and exposure. Having the enclosure will allow for not only weather to not impact the attendance of the games, but it will also allow opportunity to have other types of major concerts.
Well, you're getting ready to talk about everything else that they can do there, but this is also the team for North and South Carolina. So there are people that are traveling, 3, 4, 5 hours to come to events here. And if they're miserable, right. That is definitely going to go straight to revenues and attendance. And, not that the game was miserable Sunday, but it was
hot.
It was so hot.
It was hot.
Baking is a good word for it because, I'm surprised that I'm not 3 shades darker.
Right. Well, I did put on sunscreen. Ooh. But the stadium impacts the entire city. More people were spending money on the light rail, Ubers, transportation, even the scooters. We saw
restaurants.
There's
hundreds of those little
spreads
scooters
out so much. Yeah, food, definitely, drink. all the tailgating that comes in.
So it's a good thing.
The parking.
Yeah. In your opinion.
Absolutely. And, it's interesting because this article talks about building a new stadium, not necessarily putting a roof on this stadium. So I'm curious about that because I would love to see this stadium remain uptown. I know, like, the Knights are a great example of the Charlotte Knights, the baseball team. They were right out on the border of South Carolina, and their attendance, it was sparse. And now they're uptown in a beautiful new facility, and they've been just packing it in.
Well, one of the really nice things from both the Knights Stadium and the Panthers Stadium is the view of the city.
Yeah.
And you can even see in this picture from fireworks. I mean, the city line is so beautiful. So it would be interesting if they chose a different location and what would be the draw to go there.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't as much fun to go to a Knights game. Not that Rock Hill is really far away, but
it's just a different experience.
And I think that's one of the things that I think, even in our business, that we work on daily is the experience. Mm-hmm. So it would be interesting to see if they chose where to move it. Where would it be? Would you still have the skyline somewhere in the background, or do they just choose a remote cornfield and make it into something?
Well, they are moving their practice facility out to Rock Hill.
Yeah.
So the current training facility will probably be developed into mixed use. So some additional things to do around this current stadium.
So most of the people that log on are in North or South Carolina. So we'd love to know your opinion. Have you been to a Panthers football game? What was your experience? Did you enjoy the game? Were you hot, cold, wet, or was the weather that day just perfect? And if you're going to these games, you're probably spending at least $300. So when it comes to the amount of money that you're spending on the ticket, plus the Uber and the restaurant and traveling in, what was the total investment and was it worth it? So we look forward to see what everybody has to say about that. Good morning. Good morning.
Morning, Trip, John, Ray, Michael, Carol. We appreciate you all getting up early with us.
Bye.
That'd be great.
Bye.